Hey, we're back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And it's What If Geeks. And we are here with Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 4. The whole world is watching. And the whole world needs to start watching us or we're going to go broke. All right, so a little side note before we start. I learned something today, and I don't believe I missed this completely, but I filled you guys in on a little webpage that Marvel launched. Did you guys know about that before I told you?
No.
All right. So
No, I hadn't heard of it before.
Yeah, if you just go Google Explore Madripoor, it'll bring you to exploremadripoor.com. And it's a whole site they built with a bunch of shit where you can like check out Hightown and Lowtown and random things in there. And we were playing around with it before the episode. And there's all like neat little Easter eggs in there. Now, the key to this, I guess if you want to talk about a couple of the Easter eggs that we found in there already, we can, and then I'll go over what they deleted. Eric, what did we find?
So the Easter eggs that are in there. So on the Hightown nightclub, spoiler alert, I guess, in case you want to figure this stuff out yourself. But under the Hightown nightclub section, you can put in a code word or whatever, and it's Sharon Carter, and it'll take you to a Bitcoin auction that has a bunch of like Marvel art and some other stuff in there. There could be more hidden there, but that's what we saw. One of the auctions is live, and if you click the button to bid on it, a little note at the bottom says shipping courtesy of power broker Buccaneer Bay. If you go to the next page in the website, it's called Buccaneer Bay. It asks for a code word. You can put power broker in there, and then it takes you to a little shipping container manifest thing, and you can stick in a number. One of the numbers, it's actually the container number Sharon Carter says in episode 3, will take you to some little wanted thing where it shows them like blowing up the container lab, and it's got some little footage and some pictures, and I don't know if there's anything else hidden in there, but if you scroll down to the next one, it's Buccaneer Bay. And there is a wanted poster sort of, I don't know, inconspicuously hidden in there somewhere. And then this is the one, John, where you said they changed it, the Buccaneer Bay one?
Yeah, they changed it up. I guess, I don't know how long this has been up, but when they first launched it, they quickly deleted this stuff as people started to find it. But there's quite a few references to other Marvel stuff, specifically X-Men. But one non-X-Men was one of the boats is named Shang-Chi. And then the other boats are named Mystique, Daken, who is Wolverine's son in the comics, and then Krakoa, the Living Island. So there's a bunch of references in there to X-Men, which made everybody think that, the X-Men are tied to this again. And then they quickly deleted that shit. But it would also kind of go back to the original rumors that Omega Red was in this that we've been talking about from like when we first talked about this series starting and the rumors that were coming around. So we really thought there was going to be a big X-Men tie, and so far there hasn't been. But do we have anything else on the Explore Madripoor? You want to let people do that, and we can jump on to the next, because that's a good segue to the next little...
Yeah, there's one more page with the brass monkey.
Cool thing, is the Brass Monkey Saloon, where you scroll, and then there's a sign that says Smiling Tiger Special, and there's a picture of a snake. And if you click on that, it pulls up a menu. It looks like a bar menu of a couple of drinks and some apps and stuff. But it's the recipe for that drink that they make Sam when he asks him if he wants the usual, and it's like gin and something else and a hissing cobra's heart or something like that. Yeah.
Spinning cobra heart.
So that's what he dropped in there was the heart. Yeah. Right. So then, all right. So then the other not Easter egg, but the other little bit of info that we want to talk about before we jump into the episode. Speaking of X-Men, or maybe not, the director stated that the next episode, episode 5, comes out tomorrow. Which, by the way, is slated at 61 minutes. So, yay.
Wow.
but it's supposed to have a major cameo. Now, this is coming directly from the director. Like Marvel, they're out there talking about it. And what he said was it's going to have a major cameo. This is going to be a big Marvel character who has not been in the MCU yet and is played by a well-known or well-regarded actor, which is something that we actually thought was happening in WandaVision, too. So we thought, like, Mephisto was showing up. So my money's on Mephisto. Kidding. I'm kidding.
Not give it up.
So the initial rumors, like we said earlier, back in the day, was that Omega Red is in this, which would be a big tie-in to Wolverine and the X-Men, which Madripoor in and of itself, like I said, is a big tie-in to that. So could this be him? Or, I mean, can you guys think of anybody else that's like Captain America Central that has not been in the MCU but would fit that description?
It's not been in the MCU. Well, even that could be a trick. I mean,
Right. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head unless you're going to have, like, the other thing I thought of was if they reveal the Power Broker, and what if the Power Broker, now I like Paul's idea of it being Sharon Carter, and I think she's definitely at least working closely with the Power Broker in Madripoor. If it's not Sharon Carter, what if it's Kingpin? And it's actually like Vincent D'Onofrio from the Daredevil series.
That would be cool.
That would be a really cool, like, you got a well-known actor who's already known for that role, shows up in the MCU. Because there's rumors that Daredevil is like the Matthew Cox or Charlie Cox, Matthew Murdock version, is eventually, like, he's been in talks to show up somewhere in the MCU.
And those shows are not considered the MC. All the Netflix Marvel shows are not considered the MC.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that's it. I'm reading Spellman's comments here. So listen, very grounded character with a strong personality who he'd love to see partnered with one of the big world shakers like Thor.
Who the fuck could that be?
I don't know.
Who the hell could partner with Thor? Who has partnered with Thor? The Avengers. I mean,
well, yeah, there's a lot of people.
Well, okay, like everybody's partnered with Thor.
yeah.
Who the fuck could be a grounded character that I forgot about the Thor part. Yeah, I remember that now. I don't know who the fuck that could be. Well, all right, there you go, kids. Comment down below. Let us know.
Yeah.
No cheating. Do this before tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who the fuck this could possibly be. But, all right. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't really explored Isaiah Bradley stuff yet. Like, could they be doing, like, some sort of flashback to introduce, like, a character from before?
Could be. Maybe some of the...
I don't even know, man.
They were in there. The Howling Commandos were in Captain America.
I mean, that's world shaker like Thor. Like, who the fuck is that going to be?
Punisher.
I really got nothing.
I don't know who it could be. Oh, well. All right, so on to the episode, because I have nothing. Paul, you have any guesses?
No.
Okay. All right, so on to the episode. We open up on a flashback from 6 years ago. It's in Wakanda. It's on the outskirts of the village. It looks like it's over by the waterfall, kind of where they have the fights for title of king, somewhere in that area, basically. And it's Io, and Bucky. She's reciting the trigger words for the Winter Soldier program to Bucky.
She's saying it in Russian.
Yeah.
Why is she?
She's smart. I don't know.
It probably only works in Russian.
Yeah,
only works in Russian. Is that what it is? Okay, yeah. I guess that could.
Soldier.
Yeah.
But doesn't. Oh no! When he goes to the cell room in the earlier episode, does he say it in Russian then, or does he say it in English?
No.
I had in my head it was in English, but I always watched with the subtitles on, so I think I may have just read it.
Yeah, you just read it. It was in Russian. So yeah, it only works in Russian. So you can see Bucky's kind of stressing out, and while she's reciting these words, he's having like little flashback vision type of things to key points of stuff we've seen in the MCU. You know, like him fighting Cap and being stuck in the Winter Soldier program, killing the Starks, that kind of shit. And but she goes through the whole series of words, and the programming never really fully kicks in. And she tells him, "You're free." And he looks up at her with tears in his eyes, and she says again, "You're free." So that's what happened prior to when we see him again before the big fight against Thanos. And somebody else did the timeline, because if this is 6 years before what we're watching, and Falcon Winter Soldier is supposed to be like 6 months or so after Endgame, then this literally happened, like this whole flashback happened like a few weeks before the whole Thanos and everything, where Bucky comes to help Cap fight. So he's got like 5 minutes of freedom, and where he's got peace, and then so he can't even relax and enjoy himself, which actually does explain, because then he gets snapped out of existence, right? So it would better explain why he's still so stressed out in therapy and everything, because he's not really, like he says, I felt free in Wakanda, but it was like for 3 days or whatever the fuck it was. It was quick, and then it was over again. So it makes sense. If the timeline's right. I mean,
Yeah, if the timeline's right. Yeah.
If their math is right. Because I didn't do the math. You don't want me doing math. All right. Who wants to take it? Come on, volunteer. Why don't you, fucks?
So we cut back to the alley with AOP, and they're speaking Wakandan, and he says, she's like, "Why did you release him?" And he says, "He's a means to an end." And she says, "You've got 8 hours." And so she takes off. And then go back to he gives her the, whatever Shuri's technology is. And so they go back to the hideout. Zemo and Sam and them are having a conversation about the super soldier serum. And he says it always, he says it ends or starts with supremacy.
It always ends in supremacy.
And that the serum inherently changes the person who takes it, so that they feel like they're entitled to things, more powerful, and that it's always corruptive, essentially. And
that's where he says it
says, but it didn't.
Rick says it led to Red Skull, Ultron, right. The Avengers.
Yeah, the Avengers. He lumps all those together like it doesn't really matter good or bad. It's just supremacists.
Well, the funny thing was when he says Nazis and then Avengers, and Sam goes, "Hey, those are our friends you're talking about," and then Bucky chimes in, "The Avengers, not the Nazis."
Right. Yeah.
Which again, we're getting a lot of that buddy cop, lethal weapon type of back and forth between the two of them. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Bucky chimes in and says, "Well, it didn't do that to Steve." And Zemo says, "Well, there's touche, but there's never been another Steve Rogers." And I think this episode really, really digs into that idea of this power being this corrupting influence, and what is heroism, what is terrorism, what is, like, this goes through all that. Like, Carly has this conversation, and we'll get to this later on, where she talks about Cap's shield being a symbol, a dead symbol now, and something that means something else. And they're really the freedom fighters. I think at one point when she calls Sam's sister, and we'll get to this in a minute, she says, "Oh, you're the terrorist." And Carly's like, "Depends on who you ask."
Right.
And so there's a lot of that. And then conversations around Sam talks about, would you take the serum? And he's like, "No." He very quick, like, no hesitation.
Zemo asks him, would you take the serum? And Sam says, "No," without hesitation. Yeah.
So, and that comes back later. Sam calls Sharon Carter and says that they need her help looking to try to keep an eye on John Walker and Battlestar. And she mentioned that she's got some satellites she can move around, and that seems weird as a, American expat, no longer a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of on the run in Madripoor.
Well, apparently if you've got Bitcoin, you can get anything in Madripoor.
The cut to a scene where the Flag Smashers are talking about how Captain America is an outdated ideal. And they have the serum hidden at a grave site. You have to do some stuff with the stones to go and get it. So they retrieve it. She's wearing it. Carly's wearing it on her person. She's got it in a fanny pack. They go back to what used to be a castle, I guess, at one point. But now that the folks are back from the blip, it's now, and we've seen this location before. It's kind of a, I don't know what, tenement or something, where a bunch of people are staying and living and teaching. But they're, Sam and Bucky and Zemo go there to try to get information. And as they walk around, everyone starts to, when they see Sam coming, they all sort of run to the next room. And finally he calls out to somebody, and the guy says, we all came back and we just wanted to get back to our lives, but we can't. And Sam says he needs some information. The guy's like, I can't help you. Picks up one of the kids and heads out. But Zemo, playing the seeming role of a creeper, starts singing Baba Black Sheep to this group of kids. And then he pulls out a bag of candy, which a creeper would totally do to try to get his attention. Drops the candy.
He had everything but a windowless van.
Yeah, exactly. Puts the candy down. Kids, start to take the candy, and he talks to this one girl, and he's like, asks some questions.
He says, what was her name?
Mama Danya.
Mama Danya. He says, my friend Mama Danya passed away recently.
Yeah.
Did you know her? And the girl nods, and he says, I would like to pay my respects. Can you tell me where I can go? And she nods, and he points to his ear and has her come over and whisper it to him. And then he looks at her and he nods at Sam and Bucky across the courtyard and says, you see those two men? They're very bad men. Let's keep this a secret. Yeah. I was like, damn. The first, so immediately I thought he was just going to disappear then, but he doesn't. And so, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. And so now that they have the information, they go to the funeral. Cap and Battlestar show up, and so they all head to the funeral together. And Cap wants to go in and kind of kick the doors down, and Sam says, "Look, I can talk to her. Let me do this." And Cap is not happy about it, but he grudgingly gives Sam a couple minutes to go in there. But as it's happening, you see him pacing back and forth. He's like, this is wrong. Like, he feels like he should be doing something. He doesn't trust Sam enough to give him the time to go do his work, and have this conversation with her. So Sam goes in, funeral ends. He gets to spend some time with Carly, although she doesn't trust him at first either. And they start to have a conversation. It's going pretty well. But Cap decides it's been too long, so he handcuffs Zemo to something, and runs in the room. And Carly thinks it's a setup, and all the Flag Smashers take off. But I think there's the start of a fight, and because the Flag Smashers are super soldiers, they end up whipping them all. They go back to Zemo, to the, hotel, apartment, wherever they are.
This is also the part Zemo escapes from the handcuffs,
Yeah.
ends up figuring out where Carly is, chasing her alone. He's got a gun. He ends up shooting her.
Yep.
And I think somewhere in the scuffle, she drops all the super soldier serum on the ground, or falls off a table, I forget. But he looks down. He realizes almost immediately what it is. And, following up with what he had said earlier in the episode about him being totally against it and supremacy, he just starts smashing all the serum.
Yeah, which by the way, it was those little blue vials that we saw in the other episode.
Yeah,
like,
sure was.
They're gone. What the fuck is that blue shit? That was super soldier serum.
Yeah.
Lying.
So
trust a bad guy.
Yeah. So he smashes them all. Right before he smashes the last one, though, New Cap shows up, hits him in the head with a shield, picks up the last unbroken super soldier serum, and sticks in his pocket.
Yep. And he had just gotten thrashed. So he grabs one. He's very close up of him putting it in his pocket. They go back to the hideout, and they start to have this conversation, less a conversation and more of a confrontation. And Cap says something to Sam about, well, how do you want this to go down? And they sort of bow up to each other, and Cap's like, do you want me to put the shield down so it's fair? Puts the shield down.
Battlestar gives him a side eye then too, like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah. And turn, and it's the Wakandan, the Dora Milaje.
Spear almost takes Cap's head off.
Yeah. And they are here for Zemo, and Cap gets. He says, "You don't have jurisdiction here," and they said, "We have jurisdiction wherever we happen to be," something like that.
Yeah. That's exactly what she says.
Yeah. And he does this really patronizing. Cap does this really patronizing thing where he's the only one who must not recognize like how strong they are, because he's like, come on. And he goes to put his arm on one of her, like
he puts his hand on her shoulder,
like attaboy, whatever, and she just takes him down like hard.
Yeah.
Fight ensues. One of them does this awesome move and like is fighting Bucky, and with a couple of hits, his arm drops off. Like, he detaches his cybernetic arm. The other two are getting beat.
Too. Do you remember what she says? What? She says, "Bast curse you, James." Which Bast is their Panther god.
Right.
She's pissed at him now.
And then one takes the spear and throws it in a way that it takes, like it pins the shield, Cap's shield, to the table, going through the table, and like he can't get it out. So he's stuck. They end up kicking his ass, Bucky's, Battlestar, like everybody's. And in all of the fighting, they turn and Zemo is gone.
Now, meanwhile, throughout the entire fight, Zemo was just like wandering around in the background, sipping his scotch, and just like like nothing's going on.
Yep. And you see him close the two doors to the bathroom to get out, and then you see he moved like the bathtub or the toilet or something, and there was a
tunnel.
Yeah, and so he's gone.
Yeah.
So this is now the second time that Cap's on the losing end of a fight, and then so there's a scene where they're out of uniform.
Well, he says something key here though, because he's sitting there, and now mind you, if you pay attention to everything he does throughout this episode, there are little ticks that he's got. Like while they're walking to the funeral, he kind of shakes his head a little bit, and like there's times where like he grabs like when they're waiting on Sam to talk to Carly, he grabs his head like he's got a migraine, like he's. I think this is where he's like mentally pushing himself over the edge, where he's getting like, where he's starting to lose his shit slowly, and then he mumbles, or Battlestar asks him if he's okay, and he just says, there weren't even super soldiers.
Right.
Like, so he still got his ass kicked.
He can't believe that he's had his ass handed to him now by non-super soldiers, although Wakandan, like they should have known.
Yeah.
And so then there's a conversation that he and Battlestar have out of uniform where he says, essentially a mirror of the conversation that Zemo has with Sam, where he asks Lamar, if you had the chance, would you take the serum? And he says, hell yeah. He's like, absolutely. And he alludes back to them serving in Afghanistan together, where he says, we really could have used it that day. Think of how many lives we could have saved. Mm-hmm. And says something about I thought I heard him say something about Walker getting 3 medals of honor.
Yeah, because he's making the argument that the serum doesn't corrupt people; it just makes them sort of like a bigger version of themselves.
Well, yeah, because
so he uses Carly versus Steve Rogers as the comparison. He's like, Carly, like obviously a bad person, now a super terrorist, right?
Yeah.
And then Steve Rogers, good guy, became even better, right? And then he's saying, for you, basically, I know you're going to be better because you won 3 medals of honor, and that
I
shit.
know you make the right decisions.
Yeah. Right. So he's trying to tell him, if you took the super serum, you'd just be a better you. You'd be a better guy. Better version of yourself or something.
Right. And so I think a little foreshadowing there as we go on. Carly calls Sam's sister to Carly figures out that she needs to separate all of the parties so that they can better either talk to them or fight them if they have to, or kill Sam if she has to. So she calls Sam's sister and says, hey, I'm so-and-so. And she's like, oh, you're the terrorist. And she's like, well, I guess it depends on who you ask. Look, I need to meet with Sam. Here's the coordinates. And if you don't show, we can do it here, or I could show up there at the dock with the boat and you and the boys. So sister obviously relays that to Sam.
Which actually said a lot, because the sister was standing on the dock.
Right.
So it's like, basically, I know exactly where you are right now.
Yeah. Sam, she tells Sam to show up alone, but obviously takes Bucky. And so they show up to that meeting. Sam's in costume, and it doesn't start a fight, but almost immediately Cap and Battlestar show up, and that starts a fight. And they come guns drawn. Cap's got the gun up above the shield as they come in, and then when they see Cap, then the fight starts.
Yeah.
And this is I don't know if this was directed by the same person who directed last week's episode, but the action scene again has a bunch of knives, and I don't know if it's Cap or someone says, "What's with all the knives?"
It's Cap. Yeah.
And then in this fight, Cap and Battlestar split up at some point. One of the super soldiers jumps him. They have him tied up, laying on the ground, and Cap's looking for him. And ultimately, one of the first things you see when the fight starts is that I think Cap either kicks someone through a wall or throws the shield like halfway through a wall. You're like,
he throws the shield and it goes like buries halfway into the wall.
Yeah.
So you know without it showing on screen that he took the serum.
Yep. Yeah. They don't show it on screen, but they show the results, because he's able to knock these guys down. He's able to punch through the super soldiers, and runs faster, jumps higher, all the stuff. In the fight, I'm not sure if it's Carly or somebody else, but someone kicks Battlestar.
It was Carly.
He hits one of the columns, goes down, does that close up thing where, right, and you can tell it's bad.
Yeah.
And then Cap just loses his mess. Runs over, checks his vitals, none. I think screams, jumps out of the 3rd story window, lands on top of a van. The flag smashers scatter. He sees one, chases him down, catches him, starts punching him, and then he's got him down on the ground, takes the shield and and the camera angle is up to Cap, so you see the shield come down, and then you see just blood on the shield. You see the guy obviously not moving, very obviously dead.
Yeah, blood all over his hand.
Yeah, and then pan back to a crowd of people, everybody on their phone filming it. And as he's like delivering the last blow is when you see Sam and Bucky sort of push through the crowd to get between the crowd, and so it's Cap, dead body, those two, and then the crowd sort of surrounding.
Yeah, and Carly's in the background watching it.
Yeah.
And the maybe not so ironic thing, or the key point to the specific Flag Smasher that he killed, was the one that was talking to Carly earlier in the episode and stated that he had idolized Captain America as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So to have Captain America kill him,
yeah.
you know, because I think he even says, as like Cap beating him, like it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And then Cap kills him anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so Walker is over the edge. But yeah, that shot from below when he stands up with the shield and the blood on it, that's, while it's disturbing, it's a gorgeous shot. like I want that.
Yeah, it's something cool you'd expect to see like right on the cover of a comic.
Yeah.
Sort of like,
well, and it's comic. I don't remember in the 80s comic where this happens, where John Walker becomes Captain America, ultimately becomes U.S. agent, but they take the shield, or well, Steve fights him to get it back because Walker's out of control. And so
yes,
I can't remember if he killed somebody or not, but this is, we're now sort of back to being comic accurate on he's lost it over the edge. Walker was a super soldier. He is now a super soldier. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're, whether it's exact or not, I mean, we talked about before, I mean, John Walker is like a very brutal iteration of Captain America in the way he fights and everything. So I think they're really just playing that up. I mean, whether this exact thing happened, I don't know in the comic.
But we're back to sort of mirroring right. He is a super soldier over the edge.
Yeah.
We're back on that. We're back on track.
Yeah, we're back on that track again. So one of the things we love about the MCU and all these shows is how they take the source material and kind of weave in and out, and keep it close enough for government work. But like they tend to do a little bit of their own thing. So one other thing I wanted to say here before we just kind of like wrap everything up was Zemo. If you remember when we first started talking about Zemo coming into this series, we said they've got an opportunity here to take a character who was one of the few villains who won, but didn't have a whole lot to do in the movie, really wasn't fleshed out, and really flesh him out here. And they've done a good job with it. Like just the little, and Daniel Bruhl, I think is the actor's name, but he does an excellent job with this character throughout this series. We're like, even just like we said, with a little walking around in the background while Giuseppe is like he's nonchalant about everything. But if you remember last episode or whenever they're at like the club and he's dancing, right? Do you remember when he was dancing, that little snippet?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the whole thing on the internet with this?
Didn't someone make a video of this that lasts like an hour?
No, Marvel filmed.
Oh, right?
Yes, they said we filmed Daniel Bruhl dancing like for an hour, and then it became #release the Zemo cut.
Okay.
And they did, and it blew up the internet for like 2 days. It's like an hour of him dancing.
Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's amazing. Yeah, I don't think I'd watch it.
It's quite a commitment.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think.
Sorry, I was going to say, just like that funny little, like the fan nod to release the Snyder cut with release the Zemo cut. That's funny. Go ahead, Eric. You gonna say?
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you. I think they've done a really good job building him out to the point where he doesn't even feel like a bad guy anymore.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say that, where like you take a guy who's a very bad guy in the movie, and he's like, using Winter Soldier for his own purposes and this and that, whatever, he's really endeared himself to the fans.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think is by design, because I think you're going to wind up with the Thunderbolts, which is the superhero team that he starts, where he changes his identity to Citizen V, But now, mind you, spoiler alert for a comic series that's like 20 years old. But when the Thunderbolts first came on the scene, that was like during the whole Heroes Reborn thing, after the Avengers and the X-Men fought Onslaught and they disappeared. There was kind of a vacuum for heroes, so the Thunderbolts show up on the scene to be heroes, and you don't find out for like a good, like, I think 6 issues, like, because they're there fighting bad guys and doing whatever, and then you find out, like, behind the scenes in like issue 6 or 7 that Citizen V is actually Baron Zemo, and all these heroes that he's put together are all former bad guys. Yeah, so it's this whole thing. Now, eventually, they do become a real superhero team, but in the beginning, they've got like their ulterior motives and shit. But they do eventually become a true superhero team. Most of them do.
I know that Marvel is now using a lot of. There's a bunch of shows coming on Disney Plus, but this would be a really cool place to do, like, almost comic miniseries of shows, right? Do of a limited run of some storyline and condense it into 6 or 8 episodes of something, right? So do like, any one of these stories that has run through, a limited comics. Like, this is a really cool place to do that because they're getting the talent to do it. They're getting the big name actors, and easier to release, easier to make than, the giant movie. Just make, right, 7 episodes of a cool Falcon storyline, a cool Winter Soldier storyline, a cool something else.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of like the comic, like the mini series they used to do all the time, where you get like 7 issues or whatever.
Yeah, like the Scarlet Witch and Vision series and the Falcon series. Yeah, you could definitely do. Maybe, yeah, you can do a whole bunch of anime series just like that. That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
it'd be awesome. Almost like an extended animated movie that like DC drops, or even Marvel has dropped a few of them that are not bad. But yeah, definitely put themselves in contention with DC for animation.
Yeah, or do them live. Like, they're really good.
Yeah, they can do them live
at these stories, right? So we talked about, I don't know, two episodes ago or something like that. We talked about a Young Avengers, the possibility of doing Young Avengers. Like, this is how you would do that.
Yeah,
do a Young Avengers miniseries, live action on Disney Plus. There was a Avengers initiative where they were sort of training. It wasn't Young Avengers. They were training a next generation of Avengers.
Yeah, it's every state had their own Avengers.
Yeah.
That was right before the whole Civil War thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool. Do a whole, because that you can have a multiple season series on your hands there.
Mm-hmm.
You just explore different states. Have, I don't know, bring Kobe Smulders in as Maria Hill to kind of oversee the whole thing. And she's popping in from state to state. Because
you don't need big names, because the heroes were unknowns at the time, still mostly are.
Yeah.
Right, and so you don't have to have big name actors to do it.
Yeah, you had so many random characters that you were like, they really put a team together with those guys.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So yeah, you could do it. It'd be really cool. But yeah, that would be really cool. I'd like to see that. So all right, so we got 2 episodes left. Tomorrow is an hour, so that should be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean episode 6 is going to be like an hour and a half?
There's a lot to seemingly wrap up in 2 episodes.
There is.
It really is.
There is. And like we said before, you still haven't seen the fucking Power Broker, so...
Yes, you have.
I mean, Paul's going to go down with that shit.
Yep.
And they haven't revealed Mephisto yet.
Oh, that's right. God damn it. I grew gills and learned how to breathe underwater on my ship, you fuckers. All right, cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. A lot of cool shit happened. Poor John Walker. he wanted to be a good guy. He ain't living up to it. But I guess we'll find out what happens tomorrow. All right. Anybody got anything else for the episode? Okay. Well, in that case, you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, ring a bell. Not as loud as Cap rang that guy's bell. Hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And I have 2 episodes up on Patreon. So please look for What If Geeks on Patreon. Drop us, I think I started it out like a $5 a month thing. Drop us some cash and check out some hidden episodes that we never got the chance to launch. And we'll add to it. I'm definitely going to add more to it this weekend. And we'll start dropping them at least 1 episode a month. And we'll try to figure out some other shit I can do. Maybe I can do like a live stream or some shit on a Sunday or some stupid shit. I don't know. Figure something out. Not that you want to hang out with me on a Sunday, but what else you got going on? Nothing. It's COVID. So yeah, check us out on Patreon. Give us a little bit of support so we don't go broke. All right, that's it. We'll catch you guys next week. Good night, Tony.
Good night, Creepy Zemo, using your Turkish delight to get the attention of kids.
Good night, Battlestar. Forever.